Zcash is looking very seriously at a move to proof of stake. I think we have to do a very deep dive. Welcome back to the channel. Hit that subscribe button, slam the bell icon so you're notified when new media comes out. Your support is so appreciated. I'm going to show you an article that popped up in Forbes just this morning. It's framed in such a way to make Zooko Wilcox, the founder of Zcash, seem very chummy with Satoshi Nakamoto and seem as though his work on Zcash was directly endorsed in some way by Satoshi Nakamoto. This is what we call affinity branding. Right now, we all have a great affinity for Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin, which is why both Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcoin are mentioned in the title of the article. Now, to be very clear, this reads a lot more like a press release, and an expensive press release at that, since they went to Forbes and leaked their blog post from the electric coin company days early so that Forbes could prepare this content here the day that the blog post went live. Again, paraphrasing here, the title is Satoshi Nakamoto collaborator says Zcash should go proof of work. Clearly, there's another pet cause about carbon footprints being added there in the title as well. All of these are hot button topics right now that will definitely gain more mind share. As you can tell, I have a little bit of a bias already, but just being very clear, they are preparing you to approve of what Zooko says next, because they compare his work to that of Satoshi Nakamoto, they compare Zcash to Bitcoin, and they tell you that proof of stake will wind down its carbon footprint. It's a jab, jab, right hook before we even read a single word. Jumping down into the article, though, this is the only part that I found valuable, is the framing. This helps us understand precisely what it is that Forbes is trying to get us to think, feel, and ultimately do. Apparently, it says that Zooko Wilcox frequently communicated and collaborated directly with pseudonymous founder of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. In fact, he authored the very first blog post on Bitcoin, which Satoshi linked to on the original bitcoin.org website. They say that's the ultimate seal of approval when it comes to crypto. I disagree. I think the ultimate seal of approval when it comes to crypto, and in particular Bitcoin, would have been having Satoshi Nakamoto approve a pull request so that the writings of that earlier contributor would have been immortalized in the code base. But as it is, it's a blog post valuable, but not the same as having Zooko's personally written code live in the Bitcoin core code base. Just my 2 cents. Goes on, Zooko says, the fact is, like basically 100% of all the early Bitcoiners, including Satoshi and Hal and Nick and Adam and everyone, privacy was like the main value proposition. Okay, well, at that time, something that came into favor among that circle of builders and developers were zk-snarks. And you've heard about privacy on this channel many times, but this is what zk-snarks stand for. First off, the ZK stands for zero knowledge. Snark stands for succinct, non-interactive argument of knowledge. Let's break that down really fast in case that seems like jargon. It's not. It's a very functional name, right? Succinct, short, not taking long. Non-interactive means I don't give you anything, you don't give me anything. Argument of knowledge means I can tell you that I know something or prove that I know something or vice versa, but I don't have to give you anything in order to prove it. Make sense? Says back when Satoshi was actively developing Bitcoin, he had hoped to integrate zk-snarks into the network. However, by the time he stepped away in 2011, the technology was not advanced enough to install without slowing Bitcoin down. At least that's how they frame it. The quote that they choose to provide of Satoshi's doesn't really follow. Let's read it entirely. This is a very interesting topic. If a solution was found, a much better, easier, more convenient implementation of Bitcoin would be possible. Originally, a coin can just be a chain of signatures. With a timestamp service, the old ones could be dropped eventually before there's too much backtrace fan out, or coins could be kept individually or in denominations. It's the need to check for the absence of double spends that requires global knowledge of all transactions. The challenge is, how do you prove that no other spends exist? It seems a node must know about all transactions to be able to verify that. If it only knows the hash of the in-out points, it can't check the signatures to see if an out point has been spent before. Do you have any ideas on this? It's hard to think of how to apply zero knowledge proofs in this case. There is a proposal to introduce them, and the core developers told them that they had to be proven on another blockchain before receiving serious consideration. And we see this on other blockchains as well. Satoshi knew that Bitcoin, if successful, would have a very large carbon footprint. And again, here's where I think that Forbes has either lost the plot or is definitely trying to twist the words of Satoshi, because I don't read what they're reading. They make it sound as though he thought that was bad. His actual quote is, "It's the same situation as gold and gold mining. The marginal cost of gold mining tends to stay near the price of gold. Gold mining is a waste, but that waste is far less than the utility of having gold available as a medium of exchange. I think the case will be the same for Bitcoin. The utility of the exchanges made possible by Bitcoin will far exceed the cost of electricity used." And then they go on to say that they had this info or this blog post leaked to them several days early in an obvious bid for press. Here's the blog post, and it's by Zooko. They said it was possible for GPU owners to mine new Zcash, but in 2018, Bitmain released specialized Zcash hardware miners that made GPU miners obsolete. The Zcash Foundation led conversations with the community, who then decided to not move forward with changes that would make the protocol ASIC resistant. Today, we believe that almost all Zcash mining is done with ASIC miners. That's true. While there are many who prefer proof of work, I believe that proof of stake would make ZEC more valuable to more people. The benefits are great, and they far outweigh the drawbacks and risks. He boils it down to economics, which I can see would be a concern for somebody leading a project, but I disagree with not only his assumptions here, but also the ultimate outcome and having it be better for users. He says with proof of work, miners must sell the coins they've earned to pay their costs, electricity and ASICs. This means there's a constant downward pressure on the price of ZEC and a matching upward pressure on the price of electricity and ASICs. The economics of proof of work force all miners to become ASIC and electricity maximalists eventually. Miners receive $300,000 worth of coins every day, almost all of which they have to sell. Over the course of 1 year, that adds up to about $100 million worth. In proof of stake, stakers can keep the coins they've earned and become long-term investors, or hodlers. Today, people use ZEC to buy goods and services at 500,000 retail locations around the world. I could end the video right here and just refute what Zooko has said so far, but I think we need to go through the full blog post and refute every single point. But first, let's just go over the bullet points. Bird's eye view. Zooko says people worldwide believe that our Earth is being destroyed by global warming and that the energy used for proof of work mining exacerbates that. He says, I personally don't agree, but my opinion doesn't matter. Well, Zooko, why did you make the blog post then? He then goes on to say proof of stake provides much better security and performance at a lower cost. I agree with one of those things, and I think that one of those things is a concern for you, but we'll go over why one of those is, well, patently false. Proof of stake provides a way for large numbers of Zcash holders to become Zcash users. That really doesn't follow, other than holding becomes a use case. Outside of that, it doesn't follow that there will be increased network activity because people are hodling more. He says proof of stake increases the demand for ZEC because it supports novel new use cases. Maybe if there's some kind of lockup, liquidity pairing, or DeFi function built on top of it, but proof of stake itself is not what creates those new use cases. The new use cases could be used with proof of stake if they are developed. He says proof of stake provides a voice for coin holders. Well, that's like saying that proof of yield inside of a savings account provides a voice for people who use the US dollar. Again, simply non sequitur. It makes no sense, Zooko. I don't know why you wrote it. Last but not least, he says proof of stake is more decentralized, capture resistant, and egalitarian. Sorry, Zooko, I didn't want to have to do a flying elbow to you, but prepare yourself. This is going to hurt. Let's start with some of the earliest claims, where Zooko says that 500,000 retail locations around the world use Zcash to buy goods and services. It links to a post here on Twitter, where the electric coin company retweeted in-com payments, retweeting their partner, Flexa Payments or Flexa HQ, talking about their adoption of Zcash within the Flexa payment system. Well, who is Flexa? Let's check out their website. Flexa claims that they are the global leader in pure digital payments, that they offer fast, fraud-proof payments around the world. They offer global currencies, flexible integration options. These sound great for developers who are creating mobile apps or websites or payment gateways for other kinds of online services. That's a good thing. We do need more of this. They say they're supported by an entire ecosystem of digital payment apps. Wait a second, Gemini? Spedent? CoinList? Some of these look like they're already players in the custodial crypto space. Scrolling down further, it says it's trusted at over 41,336 locations in the US and Canada. But wait, Zooko, you said that Zcash was already actively accepted at over 500,000 locations. Your partner here says they only have distribution for 41,000 locations. Even at that, I think they might be playing fast and loose with those numbers about real use cases. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding, but these numbers don't add up. Your number is inflated by over 1,000% compared to what's listed here on the Flexa Network website. That doesn't make sense to me. Either it's an honest misunderstanding or you're overrepresenting the numbers by a lot. Let's take a look at some of the utilization, some of the usage stats that Zooko claims. $300,000 every single day is being wasted by miners? $100 million every single year? Well, who is using it? Clearly not 500,000 locations where Zcash is being accepted. Maybe there's a little bit of insight into that. Well, here's Nomics. I use Nomics because it gives a transparency score to the daily volume of different kinds of coins, and it breaks that down based on where those coins are being spent. Now, overall, the grade for transparency and the grade for Zcash on Nomics is a B, which doesn't look bad. But the transparency volume in total is only about 12% of all the daily volume. When the daily volume is listed at over $500 million US, well, only about 12% of that is transparent or gets a passing grade, according to what Nomics says. And to be more clear, what that means is the markets where it's traded, these are verified. Binance trading against USDT in a couple of different locations, or a derivative of ZEC versus USDT, LBank, FTX, Gate.io, Coinbase Exchange, Diversify, Kraken, Gemini. These are names that we know in this space and that we largely trust. Even Poloniex gets an A grade in terms of the volume being transparent on blockchain for a third party to be able to verify, like Nomics. Moving down the list, when you get past those names, well, you get a little bit lower score. BTC, still an A-, and Bitfinex. They're not exactly a failing grade. You move towards Binance US, ZG.com, OKX, CBX, Big One, Bidesk, Hotbit, CatX, HBTC, LA Token, SpectroCoin. Don't know what any of these are, but there's a lot of volume on these exchanges. Cytex, Huobi, and then down in the D range, Yobit, Bitcoin.com exchange with tens of millions of dollars every single day across all of these exchanges. So it seems that if there really is only $300,000 every single day being received by miners, it's a far cry from the 500 million that's being traded every single day. Seems like a drop in the bucket and just a cost of doing business, the cost of securing the network. I don't really understand what the problem is there, but I think there's a bigger problem, in my personal opinion, and that is that Zcash is built on that privacy technology, zk-snarks. That was the entire value proposition, and that's what the Forbes article bragged so much about. The one big thing that differentiates Zcash from Bitcoin, literally the only thing, because it uses the same basic code base as Bitcoin. The only thing that differentiates it should be privacy. Certainly, that would be why somebody would use Zcash. Well, Bitcoin Insider ran an article not long ago about research that was done just in 2020. This is not many years old. This is only months old right now, that 99.9% of Zcash transactions are traceable. Why is that? zk-snarks are an incredibly robust privacy technology and a great development in the world of cryptocurrencies. But I think that Zcash, the problem isn't the tech, it's the users. Over 99% of Zcash users fail to utilize the protocol's privacy features. And they go on to say that the researchers from Carnegie Mellon, they found that it was Zcash user behavior that undermines the privacy. They said, in their words, Zcash, first off, isn't even widely used. Zcash is by far not the preferred cryptocurrency on the dark web, and only 0.09% of all Zcash transactions within the 30-day period that they studied them made full use of the protocol's privacy features. And while there have been some more recent developments and more recent reports that there's been a 70% improvement in the number of users that use zk-snarks and privacy, well, when you're starting with a number of 0.09%, that still puts it at less than 1% of all transactions that use privacy. And that begs the question, if almost no privacy is being used, can third parties view what's happening on the Zcash blockchain? Turns out they can. Here we are on Blockchair, a block explorer. If you're not familiar with using block explorers, well, there's a link to this one in the description. You can look at the Zcash blockchain yourself. You can see that very top address. This is ordered by available transparent balance. You can see the very top address has 287,000 Zcash coins in it right now. And if I just pull up a quick calculator, and at today's price of $113, That's about $32 million. Turns out that matches almost exactly, based on nomics, the amount that is available in Binance. Pretty good accuracy. We can figure out which wallets belong to who. Zcash is not only transparent, but it's not even anonymous. The largest wallet addresses definitely correspond to different whale wallets, so either personal individuals who have very large holdings, or definitely correspond to exchanges. And we can pretty well figure out which one is which, and whether or not the transactions happening on those wallets are just happening to other sub-wallets, or happening to other exchange wallets, or literally just taking place off-chain entirely, and then being reported on via the API of those exchanges, fed back to researchers like Nomics. This brings me to my final and most pressing argument and concern. With so much transparency on Zcash and press to go to proof of stake, again, Zooko's words, not mine. He thinks that there's a problem with global warming and that proof of work mining exacerbates that. And then he went ahead and contradicted himself and Satoshi, who he was supposedly a collaborator of. Satoshi believed that the value of mining Bitcoin and most other coins too would far outweigh the cost, just like gold and gold mining, or any precious metals, or any precious stones. If we didn't believe it, we'd stop doing it. He believes that there's better security, but I disagree, and I'm going to show you why in a moment. Larger numbers of Zcash holders to become Zcash users? Well, that can't be true, because if proof of stake rewards the largest wallets, well, the largest wallets are exchanges, not individual users. There will be no new way for users to gain large amounts of coins when the newer coins are going to be given to the largest wallets. So unfortunately, that logic just doesn't track. And then at the bottom line, my biggest concern, he claims that proof of stake is more decentralized, capture resistant, and egalitarian. Okay, let's get to this final argument. And I've created a little diagram to make it a little bit more clear what it is that I'm talking about. I'm going to call this the wrench attack. And if you've heard it before, if somebody wants to take your cryptocurrency or your Bitcoin and they know that you have a wallet, they can always grab a $5 wrench from the hardware store and hit you over the head with it until you give them your private keys. It's always possible. A little less likely if you know how to hide your private keys or know how to hide your seed phrase and secure it very well. It's still a known threat. How would a proof of stake wrench attack work? Let's pretend like one of these mega stakers like Binance or all of the exchanges are right here, and their wallet balances make up only about 1/3 all of the wallet balances that are available in Zcash. And then another third of the wallet balances are made up by medium-sized stakers, so people who have gotten into Zcash for a long time, who've been in the ecosystem for a long time. People like Zooko himself, in fact. And there are a few of those. Not quite so few as the mega stakers or the exchanges, but still, this isn't where everybody lives. And then way down below, there's everybody else's frontline users, making up about another third. Well, if the consensus rules, or the proof of stake protection that makes the blockchain run, only requires 51%, then it doesn't take many of these people's wallets and many of these guys' wallets to make up half of all of the coin supply. But if there's a new consensus that requires, say, 2/3 of all of the wallets, it would really only take these guys' wallets, all of them, and then all the medium staker wallets here. High-profile people, literally everybody in the world who thinks through it would know, holds a lot of Zcash. Makes sense, right? All the frontline users that have smaller amounts, say that the typical person who right now has less than $5,000 in a savings account in US dollars, if they have the equivalent in Zcash, they'd be considered a frontline user, and maybe we don't know who they are because they've been very careful and pseudonymous about even their transparent addresses on Zcash. I hope you're still following. Maybe that makes up only 1/3 of the users. Maybe it makes up more. But for the purposes of this argument, we're going to pretend like it's about 1/3 in each category. Unfortunately, because we know that very little of the network is actually shielded, but about 99.9% are traceable, well, then all of the wallets here, they're known by third parties. They're public, and we know who does what and how much Zcash they hold. Literally everybody. Good guys, bad guys alike. Here's a wrench, and here's a person who is interested in using that wrench. Without using that wrench, they can just say, look, I've got this wrench. You know I have this wrench. I have a monopoly on this wrench because, well, you know who I am. These folks will fall in line. These folks as well will fall in line. And if they were forced to surrender their private keys, all of these wallets here are now compromised, giving this person over here control not only over the visibility of the network, because it's already 99.9% visible, but also control over consensus. So they can roll back the chain, make changes if they want to, double spend, and pretty much just own the network and do whatever they feel like. I realize that this sounds very harsh towards Zcash, and I hope it doesn't seem overly personal towards Zooko, but I really don't understand why Zooko would be considering a move over to proof of stake. As it is, I already don't understand why he didn't choose to maintain GPUs on the network when there was a grant issued for programmatic proof of work, ProgPow, and integration of a proof of work algorithm that would have maintained GPU dominance on his network. None of this makes any sense to me. It doesn't seem like it's truly decentralized. It definitely is. I mean, it's provably not private, the entire network, and unless something very radical changes, I can't see myself ever being interested in using Zcash ever again. I'm sorry to make this such a Debbie Downer to my audience. There may be people who like this network, but I can't in good conscience recommend it, and I'm very, very uncertain of its future now. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. Thank you for hitting thumbs up. Thank you for sharing it to anybody who maybe needs to see this deep dive or see this network and see Zcash framed in this way so that they're not just swayed by the headlines. I really appreciate the exposure, really appreciate your support. Love your face. Remember to stay private and mind your biz. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you want to be notified of videos like this in the future, first off, click subscribe, press the bell icon. Additionally, you can sign up for the Mind Your Biz email newsletter. That'll give you exclusive access to certain freebies, notifications for deals within the cryptocurrency mining space, as well as some of our flash sales for merchandise, which you can buy with cryptocurrency. That's right. It's the only cryptocurrency merch that you can buy with cryptocurrency. We practice what we preach. As always, thank you so much for watching. You're the reason I make this media. I love your face, and I will see you in the next one.